the first video here on the channel. It's called Saint Sebastian. You can call me whatever you really want, doesn't matter. But here, the channel is going to be Saint Sebastian. Hopefully you'll understand by the end of the video here. This is the first episode of what I'm going to be calling Wikipedia Wednesdays. And yeah, let's get it. Oh, and the first title screen, before I forget. That is for an art contest that will be commented on at the end of the video. So stay tuned for that. I need a logo, I don't art. So, on to Wikipedia Wednesdays. First episode, Saint Sebastian. Pretty much what I'm going to be doing with this series is just reading through interesting pages or even a series of pages on a topic. So this is going to be on the patron saint of sports and soldiers. He was the saint I chose for my own confirmation back when I was Catholic. So without further ado, let's begin. Saint Sebastian, died 288 AD, was an early Christian saint and martyr. According to traditional belief, he was killed during the Roman Emperor Diocletian's persecution of Christians. This is going to be fun. He is commonly depicted in art and literature, tied to a post or tree and shot with arrows. Despite this being the most common artistic depiction of Sebastian, he was, according to legend, rescued and healed by Irene of Rome. Shortly afterwards, he went to Diocletian to warn him about his sins, and as a result, was clubbed to death. Brutal. He is venerated in the Roman Catholic and Orthodox churches. He is venerated in the Roman Catholic and Orthodox churches. The details of Saint Sebastian's martyrdom were first spoken of by 4th century Bishop Ambrose of Milan, Saint Ambrose, in his sermon number 22 on Psalm 118. Ambrose stated that Sebastian came from Milan and that he was already venerated there at that time. Saint Sebastian is a popular male saint, especially among athletes, hence my selection of him as a youth, as an optimistic youth. Alright, let's hear about his alleged life, because I'm not entirely sure he existed. I'm pretty sure he didn't. According to Sebastian's 18th century entry in Actatus Sanctorum, still attributed to Ambrose by 17th century hagiographer. Still attributed to Ambrose by the 17th century insert audio Jean Ballard in the briefer account in the 14th century legend Ura. He was a man of Gallia Narbonensis who was taught in Milan. This is brutal. In 283, Sebastian entered the army of Rome under Emperor Carneus to assist the martyrs. Because of his courage, he became one of the captains of the Praetorian Guards under Diocletian and Maximian, who were unaware he was Christian. According to tradition, Marcus and Marcelian were twin brothers from a distinguished family and were deacons. Both brothers married, and they resided in Rome with their wives and children. The brothers refused to sacrifice to the Roman gods and were arrested. They were visited by their parents, Tranquillinus and Marcia, in prison, who attempted to persuade them to renounce Christianity. Sebastian succeeded in converting Tranquillus and Marcia, as well as Saint Tiberius, the son of Chromatius, the local prefect. Another official, Nicostratus, and his wife Zoe were also converted. It has been said that Zoe had been mute for 6 years. She made known to Sebastian her desire to convert to Christianity. However, she made known her desire to Sebastian to convert to Christianity. As soon as she had, her speech returned to her. Nicostratus then brought the rest of the prisoners. These 16 prisoners were converted by Sebastian. Crematius and Tiberius converted. Crematius set all of his prisoners free from jail, resigned his position, and retired to the country in Campania. Marcus and Marsilius, after being concealed by a Christian guard, Castulus, were martyred, as were Nicostratus, Zoe, and Tiberius. So, brutal. Anyway, on to his martyrdom. It's been discovered. Sebastian had prudently concealed his faith, but in 286 was detected. Diocletian reproached him for his supposed betrayal, and he commanded him to be led into a field and there be bound to a stake so that certain archers from Mauritania would shoot arrows at him. And the archers shot him until he was full of arrows as an urchin, is full of pricks, and thus left him for dead. Miraculously, the arrows did not kill him. The widow of Castulus, Irene of Rome, went to retrieve his body to bury it, and she discovered he was still alive. She brought him back to her house and nursed him back to health. Sebastian later stood by a staircase where the emperor was to pass and harangued Diocletian for his cruelties against Christians. This freedom of speech, and from a person who he supposed to have been dead, greatly astonished the emperor. But, recovering from his surprise, he gave orders for his being seized and beat to death with cudgels, and his body thrown into the common sewer. A pious lady called Lucina, admonished to be a martyr by vision, privately removed the body and buried it to the catacombs at the entrance of the cemetery of Calixtus, where now stands the Basilica of Saint Sebastian. Sebastian was said to be a defense against the plague. The Golden Legend transmits the episode of the Great Plague that afflicted the Lombards in the time of King Gumbert, which was stopped by the erection of an altar of Saint Sebastian in the Church of Saint Peter in the province of Pavia. So, based on just his life, you can probably guess why I'm not entirely convinced he existed. But on to the location of his remains. Apparently those are things. Remains reputed to be those of Sebastian are housed in Rome of the Basilica Apostolorum, built by Pope Damascus in 367, on the site of a provisional tomb of St. Peter and Paul. The church today, called San Sebastiano Fuori le Mura, oh great, I need somebody else reading that stuff, was rebuilt in the 1610s under the patronage of Scipone Borghese. Saint Otto, Enginard, Sigbert, and other contemporary authors relate that in the reign of Louis de Bonnaire, Pope Eugenius II gave the body of Saint Sebastian to Hilduin, abbot of Saint Denis, who brought it into France and was deposited at Saint Medard Abbey
at Soissons on the 8th of December in 826.
Sebastian's cranium was brought to the town of Edersberg, Germany, in 934. A Benedictine abbey was founded there and became one of the most important pilgrimage sites in southern Germany. It is said the silver encased cranium was used as a cup in which to present the wine to the faithful during the feast of Saint Sebastian. In art and literature, this is where it really comes to shine, I think. The earliest representation of Sebastian is a mosaic of the Basilica of Saint Apollo Nuovo, Ravenna, Italy, dated back to 527 and 565. The right lateral wall of the basilica contains large mosaics representing a procession of 26 martyrs, led by Saint Martin and including Sebastian. The martyrs are represented in Byzantine style, lacking any individuality, and all having identical expressions. Another early representation is in a mosaic in the Church of San Pietro in Vinicoli, Rome, Italy, probably made in the year 682. It shows a grown, bearded man in court dress, but contains no trace of an arrow. The arches and arrows begin to appear by 1000, and ever since have been far more commonly shown than the actual moment of his death by clubbing. So that there is a popular misperception that this is how he died. I had originally thought he died by that a second time. But as protector and potential plague victims, a connection popularized by the Golden Legend, and soldiers, Sebastian occupied an important place in the popular medieval mind. He was among the most frequently depicted of all saints by late Gothic and Renaissance artists in the period after the Black Death. The opportunity to show a semi-nude male, often in a contorted pose, also made Sebastian a favorite subject. His shooting with arrows was the subject of the largest engraving by the master of the playing cards in the 1430s, when there were few other current subjects with male nudes other than Christ. Sebastian appears in many other prints and paintings, although this was due to his popularity with the faithful. Among many others, Botticelli, Porgueno, I'm not even going to try the rest of these. A bunch of other artists that I cannot pronounce because they're Italian. All painted Saint Sebastian. An early work, the sculptor Gian Lorenzo Bernini is of Saint Sebastian. There. Oh. The saint is ordinarily depicted as a handsome youth pierced by arrows. Predella scenes, when required, often depict his arrest, confrontation with the emperor, and final beheading. The illustration in the info box is the Saint Sebastian of Il Sodoma at the Pitti Palace, Florence. A mainly 17th century subject, though found in Predella scenes as early as the 15th century, was Saint Sebastian Tende by Saint Irene, painted by George de la Tour, Triunfo Bigot 4 times, Giuseppe de Ribera, Hendrik Terbrungen, perhaps his masterpiece, and others. This may have been a deliberate attempt by the church to get away from the single nude subject, which is also recorded in Viceri as sometimes arousing inappropriate thoughts among female churchgoers. The Baroque artists usually treated it as a nocturnal chiaroscuro scene, illuminated by a single candle, torch, or lantern, in the style fashionable in the first half of the 17th century. There exist several cycles depicting the life of Saint Sebastian. Among them are frescoed in the Basilica di San Sebastiano of Cerulean, Italy, with paintings by Pietro Pablo Vasta. Man, I picked a bullshit one for my first fucking read through. Jesus Christ. Egon Schielen. Not even gonna try names anymore. I'm just gonna say name and then do what I've been doing. An Australian expressionist artist painted a self-portrait as Saint Sebastian in 1519. During Salvador Dali's Lorca period, he painted Sebastian several times, most notably in his Neo-Cubist Academy. In 1911, the Italian playwright, in conjunction with Claude Debussy, produced a mystery play on the subject. The American composer, Giancarlo Monetti, composed a ballet score for a Ballet Russ's production, which was first given in 1944. In his novella Death in Venice, Thomas Mann hails Saint Sebastian Figaro as the supreme emblem of Apollonian beauty, that is, the artistry of differentiated forms, beauty as measured by discipline, proportion, and luminous distinctions. This allusion to Saint Sebastian's suffering associated with the rightfully professionalism of the novella's protagonist, Gustav Archambault, provides a model for the heroism born of weakness, which characterizes poise amidst agonizing torment and the plain acceptance of one's fate as, beyond mere patience and passivity, stylized achievement and artistic triumph. In George Orwell's futuristic 1984, the protagonist, Winston Smith, at the time he is not aware she actually loves him and hates the party, is said to have dreams of ravishing the girl Julia and having her pierced through with arrows like Saint Sebastian. Sebastian's death was depicted in 1949 film Viola, in which he was portrayed by 1976. The British director Derek Jarman made a film, Sebastian, which caused controversy in its treatment of the martyr as a homosexual icon. Why am I always winding up like a gay dude? Reference to that later if you subscribe. According to a number of critics, reflecting a subtext perceptible in the imagery since the Renaissance. Also in 1976, in the American horror film Carrie, a figure of Saint Sebastian, commonly misconstrued as the crucified Christ, appears in Carrie's prayer closet. Additionally, in 1976, a depiction of Saint Sebastian is in a fresco restoration in an isolated Italian village is the central motif and cryptic mystery of the giallo horror film, The House with the Laughing Windows. In the 1990s, The Godfather Part 3, Michael Corleone is awarded the Order of Saint Sebastian, said to be, by some sources, to be fictitious. Pietro Venucci's Peru painting of Saint Sebastian is featured in the 2001 movie Wit, starring Emma Thompson. Thompson's character, as a college student, visits her professor's office, where an almost life-size painting of Saint Sebastian hangs on the wall. Later, when the main character is a professor herself, diagnosed with cancer, she keeps a small print of the same painting of Saint Sebastian next to her hospital bed. The illusion appears to be of to Sebastian's stoic martyrdom, a role the Thompson character has willingly accepted for the betterment of all mankind. There's a touch of authorial or directorial cynicism in making this saintly connection. In 2007, artist Damien Hirst presented Saint Sebastian, a quiescent pain from his Natural History series. The piece depicts a cow in formaldehyde, bound in metal cable and shot with arrows. British pop band Alt J's video, Hunger for the Pine, contains references to the story of Saint Sebastian's death, adopted to fit the lyrics of the song. Tarsem Singh's video for the REM song Losing My Religion makes use of imagery of Saint Sebastian, drawing particular inspiration from the paintings by Guido Reni and Caravaggio. The Indian folk band, the Mountain Goats, have a song called Hail Saint Sebastian, which makes reference to his life. Patronage. In the Roman Catholic Church, Sebastian is commemorated by an optional memoriam on January 20th. Guess that's going to have to be an important day for this channel. In the Church of Greece, Sebastian's feast day is on the 18th of December. Beauty. Feast days. As a protector from the bubonic plague, Sebastian was formerly one of the 14 holy helpers. The connection of the martyr shot with arrows with the plague is not an intuitive one, however. In Greco-Roman mythology, Apollo the archer is the deliverer from pestilence. The figure of Sebastian Christianizes this folklore association. The chronicler, Paul the deacon, relates that in 680, Rome was freed from a raging pestilence by him. In Catholicism, Sebastian is a patron saint of archers, athletes, and of a holy death. Sebastian is one of the patron saints of the city of Camori in Malta, along with St. George. Sebastian is a patron saint of Acireline, Caserta, Petilia, Policastro in Italy, Melilli in Sicily, and San Sebastian, as well as Palma de Mallorca and Huelva in Spain. He is the patron saint of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Informally, the tradition of the Afro-Brazilian syncretic religion Umbanda. Sebastian is often associated with Oxóssi, especially in the state of Rio de Janeiro itself. Feast of Saint Sebastian is celebrated among Catholic communities of Kerala, India, along with elegance and color. Churches are grandiosely illuminated and decorated, with fireworks being the main event in every Catholic home to commemorate the saint. Every parish has its own date of celebration, especially in the districts of Thrisur, Ernakulam, Alpahuzua, and Kottayam. Besides this, many pilgrim centers, churches, shrines, and many educational institutions, too, throughout Kerala bear the name of the saint. He's a patron of a college named for him in Manila, Philippines, which is adjacent to the parish of Saint Sebastian. Sebastian is the patron saint of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Bacolod in Negros Occidental, Philippines. Saint Sebastian is the patron of the Knights of Columbus Council 4926 in the Roman Catholic Diocese of San Jose in California, serving the cities of Mountain View and Los Altos. There's going to be another reference to this if you subscribe later, because I got a weird connection there that might go somewhere interesting. Anyway, Saint Sebastian is a patron saint of the Catholic War veterans of the United States of America. The highest award given by the CWV is the honor of the Legion of the Order of Saint Sebastian. In his 1906 reminiscence, man, the hurdles are getting to me. Carl Schurz recalls the annual birdshot pageant of the Rhenish town Liblar, which was sponsored by the St. Sebastian Society, a club of sharpshooters, and their sponsors, to which nearly every adult member of town belonged. The St. Sebastian River is named after him. It is a tributary of the Indian River Lagoon and comprises part of the boundary between Indian River County and Brevard County in Florida. The adjacent city of Sebastian, Florida, and St. Sebastian River Preserve State Park are also named for St. Sebastian. And thank fuck I'm done that. Later, I'll be recording, I guess earlier for you, I'll be recording more about what this channel's about, especially with regard to this character. Key points if you want to enter this contest now on the screen. I want something that depicts ideally his surviving of a death. His second death would be cool because nobody else seems to depict that ever. And somehow include the fact that it was all done because he stood for what he believed, didn't cower to authoritarians. Anyway, I hope you subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, make fun of how I sound, whatever. Talk to you later.